Okay, here we are at the Bloom Show. So we have here Quinn from Prime and David Armellini, my brother from Armellini, and we wanted to talk about what was going on in the logistics business. The logistics business has gotten a little bit upside down because of COVID and drivers and every other thing. So we thought it would be important to have this discussion here. So without further ado, tell me what's going on in this business. What's going on in logistics?
It's all about drivers.
It's about drivers.
All about truck drivers. Brad and I can both buy all the trucks we want. We can get the tractors, we can get the trailers. We just can't get the drivers to do as many as we used to have to do this. The truck driving industry has changed dramatically. The baby boomers that have been driving our trucks for a long time are retiring. And I don't know about you, but none of us really raised our kids to be driving trucks. So that's become a natural shortage going on, and we don't see it going away. And that's if you just want to be a regular truck driver, let alone what the floral industry is asking us to do, or what we've been doing for many, many years of hand unloading and putting it inside their cooler. It makes for a real challenge to try and hire that driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, Willie, thank you for hosting this event, giving us the opportunity the exposure to educate the audience. Prime is obviously a large trucking company, and it's easy for us to educate our audience because they're big shippers. The Walmarts, the General Mills, the Tysons. Our floral customers are very small. They don't understand the common marketplace. So the marketplace is what it is. It's bigger than Prime. It's bigger than Armellini. It's bigger than Amazon. We all operate within that marketplace. So the marketplace dictates to us how we have to behave and act. And moving forward, what are we going to do to take care of drivers? We know what the rates have done historically, and now we're seeing it. 2018 was a humongous year for trucking. It's our best year in trucking ever in 50 years at Prime. Now 2021 is 2018 on steroids. We don't know. We haven't plateaued yet. We don't know what the top end of it is yet, but the spot market rate is incredible. So just to give you an idea, if your average rate out of Florida or California on a rate per mile, we'll just use $2, something simple. That's what we can expect from customers to pay for a lot of truckloads. But for one truckload or 5 or something like that, the brokers out there are getting $5 to $10 to $12 a mile. They're demanding it. So what's that do with capacity? Well, that driver, it's going to shrink it. That driver does that one load at $5 to $10 a mile, takes 2 or 3 days off. So wow. That's one of the dynamics that we're seeing out there, and drivers deserve time off and want it. And it's just driving down the numbers.
Brad, you gave me an interesting statistic. You mentioned the fact that as a Prime, because you have lots of drivers and lots of trucks, and floral is just a small piece of it. But out of all the driver pool, you have a hard time finding the ones that are actually willing to take the flower loads.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're comparing a one pick, one drop load of Walmart or Tyson chicken. So you're going to a shipper, a Maricold, a cold storage. You're approaching them. Right now due to COVID, drivers aren't even getting out of their trucks. Electronic bill of ladings. Wow. They don't even open their rear doors to their trailer. They pull up to a shipper. They're told where to go. Somebody comes out and opens the trailer doors for them, tell them where to back up, get loaded, no touch. They put in their load locks, put on the seal, and really? In many cases, we're not even getting bill of ladings. It's electronic sending it to the driver.
Is that improving time and efficiency?
Absolutely. And then, it's what the drivers want to see. And, we all know what it takes on the floral side of things. We're fingerprinting every single box. We're touching it. So that's not the common denominator out there by any means. I mean, this is the only freight that Prime participates in where our drivers are required touching. So, first of all, you got to educate them on how to do it quickly if they've never done one. And then you got to pay them accordingly what they feel is worth, to handle the boxes, right? Because they're not used to physical labor like that. So that's kind of what we're seeing.
And it's from a driver perspective, I kind of lay it out that there's like 3 different types of drivers. There's the local driver who's home every night, gets paid hourly, makes a decent wage, but he's home with his family every night. Then you got the solo driver who drives by himself, who could be out 2 days, it could be out a month, depending on the carrier that he's with. And he's driving by himself and doing what he has to do. And then there's team, which is what the floral industry has pretty much demanded and what we've provided for years. Wow. So you got to marry 2 drivers together. And then on top of being a team, you have to fingerprint unload. There's almost no other industry in the country that we're going to drop into a wholesaler's cooler 220 boxes that's worth $4,000. We're going to drop it at 2 in the morning, and they're going to come in at 7 in the morning and go, yep, it's all here. Yeah. You know, I got my, you know, would you do that at any place? You go to a store and go buy a whole bunch of stuff and not check what the prices are or anything, you know, but that's what we do. So that's what we're requiring. So it's so hard to find that driver that's willing to do that when there's so many other truck driving jobs. You listen to XM radio and almost every other ad is looking for drivers. No touch freight, sign on bonus, home weekly, you know, they're offering everything. So a driver can go, somebody with a little bit of experience and a decent record can go in any city in the country and get a truck driving job tomorrow. So we're requiring them to do all this work and somebody else is doing. So we have to, as an industry, we've got to pay our drivers enough to try and convince them that, okay, it's worth doing this unloading because I'm getting a lot of money to do the unloading.
And that money, of course, has to come from somebody. Somebody's got to pay that bill. You guys don't have the margins to be carving out that. So, you know, you got to do a rate increase or something. And then I know you're working with AFIF and some other industry organizations to try to see if the industry can sort of rise to the occasion, because you have to get some things done.
Well, in most cases, we don't have a choice. I can't speak for what Prime's done, but we don't have a choice. We have to go out and raise rates, and we have to pay all that money to our drivers. And that's, you know, this new increase that we're going to give is by far the biggest increase we've ever given in our company's history. But it's peanuts compared to that every trucking company is raising their rates to their drivers. So we're just trying to keep parallel, let alone trying to get above. So
if I'm a wholesaler and I'm on your truck or you're delivering my freight, what can I do to make your life easier or your driver's life easier?
Well, from a wholesaler's perspective, I mean, obviously it's a driver's choice of what loads they want to haul, for us anyway, but what can they do to make a driver's experience better? Okay. We all know that the unloading feature's there. We don't like it. You know, that's what we're going to discuss later. We need to get rid of that to some degree somehow. But, you know, have restroom facilities available for driver. I mean, these guys are out driving 1,500 to 2,000 miles, 7 to 10 drops, and you don't want to stop in between drops. You know, they're drinking water in between stops after they unload flowers or thirsty. They have to use the restroom, but none are available. So anything you can do to accommodate a driver, think about it as yourself. I mean, what would you want or what would you need? We had a meeting earlier today, and, you know, the wholesaler suggested maybe we put a care package out there for drivers, just something very minimal like water, granola bar. Great idea. Any gesture that a wholesaler offers to a driver to show appreciation goes
a long way.
Exactly. And it's something that simple.
Yeah. How about the basics like a dock?
Right.
A loading dock.
And it's not just a loading dock, because some wholesalers have loading docks, but it'll take you a half hour to back into it because it's too tight to, you know, it was designed for a 45-foot trailer, not a 53-foot trailer. Cars and vans in the way. You know, the driver goes in and says, "Can you move this?" Oh, wait, you know, come on, what's your problem?
Yeah.
You know,
can't you back
it in there? So being pleasant to the driver and what can I do to help you? Can I move this out of the way to try and help you? Have pallets and pallet jacks. Have a cooler that you can actually, after you put it on a pallet,
get it through the door.
Get it through the door, so you don't have to hand unload into their cooler. So it's those things that we have to make life easier for these drivers, because Brad and I have both been saying it's coming down the road. I don't know if it's next year, but it's coming down the road where we're going to back up to your dock and you're going to unload.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to find the driver to do it. Even if we paid twice what we're paying, they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily just money. We're throwing money at it to try and help. But the reality is it's coming down the road. And I've told most wholesalers get 3 kind of deliveries a week. They get their plants, they get their hard goods, and they get their fresh cut flowers.
Right.
Plants and hard goods deliver while you're there and you unload it.
Mm.
Flowers is the only one who goes in and has a key and unloads and does all that. And that'll change our whole logistics of how we have to do business. But we may end up being forced to do that just because of drivers not wanting to do what we're trying to get them to do.
You're right. Since the theme of Robusta is better together and stronger than ever, and I see you guys are collaborating. How have you collaborated together, and how has that affected the plans for the future?
I wouldn't say we've necessarily collaborated. It's just a matter of
conversation.
Just discussions
It's
about
collaboration.
right. We're both in the same problem.
our biggest challenges.
Yeah,
Because
you got
they're
the same
mutual.
problem.
Right.
Just one challenge might be a little more needy for him, or more, one that needs to be addressed. But for us, it's definitely the unloading. I mean, we know what we need to pay them on a per mile basis to get them to handle a load. But we still haven't hit that threshold of the driver unload. How much money is driver unload? And for the audience, we can tell you right now, $200 to $400
For them to do it.
It's
Right.
not adequate.
It's not cutting it.
They're refusing it. So we have to get to a point where it's significantly higher, double at least. But I don't know where it goes beyond that, because again, this is freight that our drivers are not typically handling. They're handling a one pick, one drop, maybe a pharmaceutical load from California to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Real easy, no touch, and they're done with it. So
It's hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
How about shippers? What can shippers do to help?
The shippers can, in my case, I'd say they can give us more organized freight.
As it's coming to the dock?
As it's coming to the dock. So the less handling we do on the boxes, because the more handling we have to do in our warehouse, the more we beat up the box, the more the box is more difficult for our driver to handle on the other side. One of the real negatives of so much problem coming from South America with the flights is that box is sitting in an airport cooler for 5 days, 6 days. And as your words were saying, I remember a long time ago, that refrigeration is great for the flowers and horrible for the cardboard.
Yeah.
So the cardboard is already beat up by the time it gets to us, and now I'm handling it 5 or 6 times. So now the pallet, if you're trying to load on pallets, even at the cooler, the wholesalers, they're tipping over before you even try to load them. So it's the more organized they can bring us freight, the more we can try and deliver a better product to the industry and to our customer.
Yeah, be timely, be prompt, have correct paperwork and organization. And most of all, I mean, when you come, we're open from 8 to 2. I mean, 8 to 1, it just depends what day, but come early. I mean, nobody is there between 8 and 11.
Yeah.
Everybody waits till the end.
Sure.
Well, your driver will get there early, bring over a third of what you have right there in the morning. You probably have a driver sitting around, bring it over, get it out of the way,
Get that part
get
out of the way.
and then come back to us later. But, we've always required the organization of a pallet. We'll accept mixed pallets, but not, 10 customers on there, one box at the bottom, one in the middle, and one at the top. It's got to be customer specific, bottom, top, middle.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. So, I mean, we'll look at that, and we'll reject shippers if they
Yeah.
come over that way, and just say, go back out in the parking lot. and help
You
us
touched
out.
on something with, when you say box sizes. Obviously, this has been something that's dear to our father's heart for many years, trying to figure out box sizes. Too many, smaller and smaller and smaller boxes. So is there a plan to try to get to?
I think that's, I'm trying to work with AFIF and trying to get them to, because the importers are saying the same thing. Their warehouses are not organized because they got so many different box sizes, so it's a pain for them. I've got wholesalers screaming at me saying, we've got to do something about this. So as an industry, I think we have to continue to push. I met with a couple of the big growers and they're like, yes, we need to do this. So I think as an industry, we have to continue to push down that avenue of, is there a box? There's no one box. It's going to be a series of boxes that can kind of stack more together.
Because you're loading more on pallets.
We're trying to as much, and that's the challenge all of us are faced with, that because we have such a shortage of drivers, if I can fit it on 15 trucks versus 18 trucks on pallets, I'm going to fit it on 15 because I only have X amount of drivers. So for as much as I even want to palletize more,
You can't necessarily.
because of, and
Because you lose space.
you lose space. And especially out of like California, we can get good capacity on pallets because they have a lot more standardized box. Miami, because it has to deal with the airlines, doesn't have that standardized box because everybody's trying to really minimize their footprint for the air freight.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it good for the trucking side of life. So that becomes that challenge. And the more organized the pallet is, the easier it is for our driver. And that's why I'm coming full circle, and Brad and I, it's all about the driver, of trying to make his life easier, of getting that box delivered to that cooler. And eventually it's going to be, we're going to end up tailgating it, and you're going to have to be there to help unload. It's coming whether we want it or not.
Yeah.
When do you see that happening? Is it anytime soon?
I think it needs to be sooner than later. From our perspective, I mean,
Can't happen fast enough.
we have almost 9,000 drivers. We're largest U.S. company, refrigerated. So we have a lot of drivers. We bring in 200 drivers every single week with the turnover. So, we're recruiting drivers all the time. And, it's just get to the point where we cannot find out of that 9,000 who wants to do the unloading. I mean, Dave's, a little bit spoiled, and I'm not going to say spoiled's not the right word, but his niche of his business is flowers. So when he recruits, he's probably recruiting mainly in Florida and area. These drivers know 50% of what they do is flowers. Our drivers, we use the ad hoc network. So we got trucks that empty in Florida and California. We don't know tomorrow or today. We don't know who we're going to use yet. It's going to be a driver. Hopefully they've hauled a flower load before, but we don't know. So,
and I think that's a great point, that we are very niched in flowers, and we're having trouble.
Yeah.
He's not niched in flowers,
and he's having trouble.
So it's from two completely different perspectives, and we're both facing the same challenge. It's not like, oh, Brad can, Prime can do it because it's, he's got so many drivers to pull from. It's made it even worse for him because he's not hiring just for that. I'm hiring just for flowers, and you can't get them. So it's a challenge.
I'm going to guess the people are saying, "Oh, it'll go away. This is just a temporary thing because of COVID or whatever." But I don't think it's going away.
That's a great question.
It's not going away.
Well, again, the marketplace, right? Marketplace is bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
It's going to dictate what's going to happen. Bob Costello with the ATA, American Trucking Association, spoke recently to an audience for us in Springfield, and he doesn't see this going away 18 months. I mean, we're into all the way through this year, 2022, and perhaps to 2023.
Of high demand for trucks.
Exactly.
Not the shortage of drivers is not going away.
Right.
No.
It's the demand for trucks.
It's not going away.
And you actually have trucks parked that you can't man. And trucks sitting in your driveway in your parking lot don't make any money.
Yeah, making monthly payments on them is no fun when they're not driving. So no, that part's not going away, and that's one of the things that I've heard from the underlying tone is, okay, well, now that the government stopped paying people money,
They're going to get back to work.
And they're going to get back to work. Yes, I believe that's going to help me in my warehouse.
Absolutely.
It's going to help me for general labor. It's going to help me for that customer service person to maybe come back to work. It's not going to help for the truck driving job because it's not necessarily a pleasant job. It used to be the truck driving job was you were an independent guy. Yeah. You got to drive by yourself or with another person. Nobody was watching you. Well, now it's Big Brother on top of you. We have forward-facing cameras, rear-facing cameras. We got technology knowing everywhere you're at, and it's not as glamorous as it used to be. Yeah. And you throw on top of all that, how many other industries do you go to work and you can't get high? And I say that respectfully. Now they've required the drug testing. It's twice a year. It's more than it used to be. So now it's knocked out more and more drivers because,
You've seen that effect.
oh,
Casual
huge.
Yeah.
cannabis smokers, yeah, they can't, they get.
And
they
they're
can't
legalizing all over the.
And they're legalizing everywhere,
And
but
we
we, as
don't.
an industry, we can't hire that
You can't
driver.
hire that driver.
And it used to be, okay, we couldn't hire you, but your record didn't pass over to Prime. So Prime would do the drug test on you, and if you passed there, you got hired.
Okay.
Well, now it's nationwide. They failed my drug test. Prime knows
It's
they
in the
failed.
system. Yeah.
It's in the system.
And
They
from a
failed.
recruiting standpoint, I mean, many companies, large, we haven't gone there yet. They're doing the hair follicle testing. So that is a more,
It's going to wipe out more.
it's very precise.
It's been a couple
I mean,
years.
if
Wow.
supposedly if you have marijuana in your system, you know, I don't really understand, I don't know that stuff that well, but people tell you that if you've had it for a week or two, you're okay testing it. With hair follicles, I mean, I think it stays in there months.
You have to have all ball drivers.
So,
Yeah.
but also with that, you know, we got to talk about COVID because how it changed the landscape of recruiting. I mean, we're traditionally 27% teams, you know, on 6,000 trucks. Well, we've dropped down tremendously,
In
you know,
teams.
just because of having
You
two
had to
drivers
split
in
them
your
up.
truck. Now, once this vaccine is out there and people choose to do it, I mean, we're seeing our nation, a lot of them are not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
So that's affected how we can recruit, where we can recruit from. We got to watch the hot spots. But how do you get them to our terminal?
Wow.
Because we recruit nationwide. How do we get them to Springfield, Utah, or PA, where our main terminals are to recruit them? Well, we used to bus them. We used to fly them.
Yeah.
Well, those weren't options during this
Yeah,
because
right, during COVID.
we would have to bring them in and have to put them to the side
Quarantine
for
them.
14 days, quarantine them. So we worked out a deal with Enterprise Cars. And now you guys know what's going on with the car market.
Yeah,
You can't
find
get
them.
rental cars. Well,
I heard people
we did
renting
one-
U-Hauls because they can't
Right.
find cars.
So and that's right. So we've done one-way rentals with them, and you know we're getting drivers to our facilities now by themselves, or a group might come in. But it's totally affected.
And you have a school too. don't
Yeah,
you?
we have our own little school, and that's
So
what
you have a school where you teach a driver.
right. Yeah,
And
it's
from point A to point.
well, yeah. Someone that's never driven a truck, you come in and we'll teach you. We'll pay you.
Wow, that's been.
You know, we'll pay you weekly just to sit on the truck to learn to see if that's what you want to do for a month. And then we're going to train you. We used to be at 50,000 miles of training, and we recently reduced it to 30,000, which is a very good number. But just to get that ball rolling quickly,
course.
to get the attrition, to get the growth, we've got to grow the fleet again and bring more drivers.
So I'm not looking for a job, but what's the average pay for a driver nowadays?
You know, I'm gonna guess in our network, where it used to be 45,000, it's, you know, it's bumping 50.
Yeah. Ours are doing easy 65, 70. So they're making money, but they're working.
They're working.
They're working.
But they're working.
It's hard work.
And you know, what part of what also has caused a lot of this mess was COVID, because most of us trucking companies have relied on not experienced drivers. It's new drivers coming in schools. Well, the schools were shut down for a year because no one wanted to get in a truck with another person to teach them how to drive. So all the schools shut down. And then you take it, so now, okay, now I got a schoolie that came out that I hired. Well, the way we've trained them is you go with another team and learn how to drive. And we teach you for another 2 months how to drive, similar to what Brad's doing.
Yeah.
They don't want to go with that guy to learn.
Yeah.
So they're like, nope, I'm going to go someplace else that I can go drive. I mean, there's a bunch of trucking companies out there, not like Prime or us, that you just came out of school. Here's a truck. Here's a key. See ya.
School's 1 week typically.
Yeah.
$6,000-$8,000. Seriously,
And you
1
hand
to
them
2
$100.
weeks.
You hand them
Right, and
$250
these guys are out on the
million
road with our
piece of
families.
Restricted license.
It's
Right.
All right, well, I think we've gone far enough here with what we're doing, and I believe we've made the points that I hope everybody can listen to and appreciate. It's not going away. It's a problem.
The only thing I would add, Williee, to that is that what we're pushing our wholesalers to and our customers is for us to make less deliveries. So to try and consolidate, if you got 2 guys in a market, maybe X amount of days, we drop it at one place. So instead of 12 stops for that truck, he's only making 10 stops, or he's
It's a
only
little
making
easier for
8
the
stops.
driver,
It's a
yeah.
little easier for the driver. So even if we go to, they have to unload, it's that many less stops. I mean, that's every time you stop, it's a back end. Any driver who gets an accident, it goes on his record. Well, if he has too many minor accidents, Prime don't want to hire him. I don't want to hire them. So they're very careful about not getting in accidents. But when you tell them to back into it 12 times, chances are you're going to hit a car, or you're going to hit this. So the more we can minimize that, the better off we are as an industry.
Do you also think that we're going, and we had some questions here, sorry, Terry Smith, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, says, great conversation. Jay Swanky says, amazing conversation. There should be more people watching because it's so important to our industry. So question for you is, do you think there's ever a possibility of having hubs?
I've opened 2 of them.
Yeah.
I have one in Atlanta and I have one in Ohio. That's the main reason we did that is we were hub and spoking, putting it up to Ohio and having straight trucks up there go.
Because you could use a single driver to get
I
there.
can use a single driver to get there. So but it's a huge cost.
Yeah.
So there's a huge cost in us doing that, owning a terminal, manager, trucks, coolers, people. But that helped us a lot this holiday, having our Atlanta and our Ohio operation to do that, because we're crazy in the floral industry. But we're looking at, is there more of those that we have to open to try and get through that?
But you have to evaluate the infrastructure of that. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
and then you have to, hope that these customers stay with, I mean, if 1 or 2 customers fall off of that infrastructure just collapses.
Yeah, you don't have the revenue.
So, I mean, we're probably not in line right now to look at creating more infrastructure for the floral. I mean, we want our wholesalers and everyone else to work together and help us with a solution and not us, put more expenses into it. So.
When you talk about working together, when you think about 2 wholesalers in the same city, that you say, I'm going to drop my flowers at your place, you're going to receive them for me. Oh, really? That's going to take some cooperation.
Absolutely.
But
Well, it's also less days of service that plays into, so maybe we don't service the jerseys 5 days a week. Maybe we go to 4 days a week, which consolidates, you hope to hold on to the same volume. My goal is not to chase volume away or revenue away, but we have to try and help drivers.
And, I think our whole goal of this meeting is education.
Yes.
That's what we're here.
Yeah.
We're not here to make excuses, blame anyone. We just need to educate everyone that this is what's going on in the industry. Truck rates with big customers, the Walmarts, all that, they're going up 10 to 15% easily.
Regularly.
Year-round. LTL rates, non-floral, are going up at least that. I mean, unfortunately, the floral industry has to compete within that. They're part of trucking and everything. So that is what's going on out there. It's not that we're after anyone. It's to make it sustainable. You have to compete. I mean, apples to apples, and this is a tough business.
Well, you see, one of the competitors went out of business on the LTL business,
Right.
and he didn't do that because he wanted to, I'm sure.
Now, and Brad and I actually talked about that. We probably had 25 phone calls of customers wanting to get on our truck. We didn't take any of them. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the drivers to take any.
Right.
And he didn't take any either because we didn't have the capacity to take it. So that's scary enough that here I am in sales, he's in
You
sales,
want business.
and we want business and want
Yeah.
business, and we're saying, no, sorry, we've been after you for the last 10 years, but we're not going to take you because we don't have the capacity now. It's odd times.
Compare the alternatives that are out there. We all know what UPS. I mean, if I ship our sales booth down here, it's $600. I mean, for 1 box. So, what's the alternative? I mean, you're getting a flower box, maybe $10 to $12 a box from, say, Florida to Illinois, Florida to Texas.
Sorted and put in your cooler.
Right. I mean,
Refrigerated on the way.
so we all know what the FedEx and UPS rate. I mean, I think it's at least $45 a box.
Yeah.
And planes, you can speak on planes because we're not in that environment at all. But I'm sure the cost.
The rates are through the roof right now.
And then
for the
you get in
planes.
those heat, out of Miami and Houston areas where it's 80, 90 degrees humidity, and they're in the belly of those planes.
Yeah, freezing.
It's
In Texas, freezing.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate everything. Thank you. We'll get this out. It's been out there already. I'm gonna reduce this down to a video and send it out on mine.
And we're still live, but last comment from Jay Schwanke. Thank you to Armellini and Prime. You make flowers possible for all of us. We appreciate the hard work you do every day for our great industry. So
Good.
Super.
Thanks.
Thanks to our customers.
All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.